Test. Good evening, everybody. We'll get started in about 2 or 3 minutes. Just want to let you know, thanks a lot for coming. Test. That sounds good. Hello. You guys hearing that?
You're not picking up can you guys say something out of your mics? They're trying to see, this radio's trying to see if this direct.
Test 1, 2. Test 3, 4.
Test 5, 6.
I wanted to be 1. What happened?
It's not working. You guys aren't hearing anything on, and that is on.
There's more boxes on that side. Yeah, there is.
And there's another one on that side.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to work.
I think we're going to get started here. I'm glad there's a seat for everyone tonight. Hello, I'm Linda Penner. I chair the Board of State and Community Corrections, and it's a pleasure to be in Oakland tonight. We started with Oakland because we thought there were some lessons learned here. We could come here, hear about what you have an interest in doing as we roll out Prop 47, and after we're done here, we'll have 5 or 6 other meetings up and down the state. So we look forward to a good meeting tonight and getting great information from you. I was appointed by the governor to chair this board. I previously served as the chief probation officer in Fresno and worked a fair amount on realignment, and I'm happy to be in California government at a time when we're having such incredible historic changes. It's a pleasure to be here as we move forward and reduce incarceration and find a better way to do business and positively impact the people we serve. We have intense interest in 47. We have been to a number of meetings that other stakeholders have held, and we've heard time over time about the needs out in the community, and we are committed to being transparent and doing our best and meeting the needs as best we can in the state of California with the funds derived from Prop 47. Tonight we have 2 roles. My role is to introduce the panel, but most importantly to listen carefully. There are a number of people in the room tonight that are with the BSCC, and I invite them to stand up so everybody can recognize who they are. BSCC staff. So if you don't get, there you go, thank you. Questions, you don't have to stand, Trace, I'm going to introduce you. I mean, Jane. We want to learn about the kinds of services and support, and if you are shy and don't want to come up to the microphone, hopefully you'll be able to find some of us on the dais or staff members or other board members here and share your comments with them then. Some of you are service providers, and some of you are people who know firsthand what the needs are of individuals out there that have been entrenched in the criminal justice system. We look forward to hearing what you have to say. We want to weigh all of the insights and make sure that we balance the scales proportionally and do what needs to be done to best roll out the funding. This meeting is going to be live streamed. You can go to the BSCC website. If you have Wi-Fi, tap it and listen to what's going on. So if you have people who could not make the meeting tonight, you might want to text them and tell them that they can hear the meeting in progress if they like. It looks like we have, unless the room gets completely full, we have room to listen to everybody who chooses to speak tonight, and we will do that as we always do with the timer. Hopefully we can use the full 2 minutes to get up and talk about the focus of how you see things and what you think we should pay close attention to. Before we do that, I think it's imperative that you all have the advice, expertise, and education from a panel that we put together specifically because we wanted people to really deal with the facts as we see them. And I'm really excited about the people that we put together this evening to talk to you. Before I do that, we have some special people over here on the side from the BSCC. Letitia Perez is a board member. Please stand, Letitia. She is a Board of Supervisors member out of Kern County. She's got fans. I like that. Michelle Brown, who is the Chief Probation Officer in San Bernardino County, that serve on our board. And I thank both of you for coming. I can tell you the board is highly interested and compelled to do the right things with our obligation with Prop 47. We've talked about it a lot. We planned these meetings up and down the state because it was important to the board that the sense of the entire state of California and the grip on the diverse needs in California was at the fingertips of those who are designing the use of the money for the state of California. Sheriff Ahern and his staff, thank you for inviting us or allowing us to be here tonight and assisting us in rolling out this meeting. DA O'Malley and her staff have been very helpful. And with that, I'm going to begin the presentation. Anything else you want me to say? Katie usually helps me say a few more things.
Just the introductions of the whole.
I'm going to do that. Should we do it just one by one, though? Can I just start with you, Elizabeth? Sure. I think most of you, a show of hands for everybody who knows who Elizabeth is. She's a big deal with Prop 47. I probably don't need to introduce her, but because I really like the sound of my voice in this microphone, I'm going to do it. She directs the Local Safety Solutions Project at Californians for Safety and Justice, and I know she was massively important in the passage of Prop 47. She is a well-versed individual who is currently serving in this capacity, but prior to that was with CDCR in a number of capacities, and also with DJJ, formerly what we knew as California Youth Authority. She is incredibly experienced. She has a demeanor that engages everybody on both sides of the aisle. And we're going to ask her to really just give us the first overview on Prop 47 from the perspective of the group that authored it.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this evening. As Linda said, I'm here tonight on behalf of Californians for Safety and Justice, and we were one of the many organizations involved in the coalition to support and pass Proposition 47. coming from many of the other members of the coalition, thank you. I am assuming that most people in the room are familiar with the proposition, but it did a number of really key things, and it's probably worth re-emphasizing those here. So first of all, it took 6 low-level offenses and it made them straight misdemeanors. That in and of itself was important, but it also allowed for anyone who was currently serving time for those sentences to to go back to court and have their sentence resentenced. It also allowed anyone who had a historic one of those charges on their record to be able to go back and be reclassified. And then finally, the reason we're here tonight is because it also allowed for a reallocation of funding. So the voters were very clear. They wanted to be able to take funding from the prison savings and be able to reallocate that toward mental health, substance abuse treatment, and diversion programs. So 1 year ago, from next week, 1 week from tonight, a year ago, is when 60% of California voters went to the polls and passed Proposition 47. Now, there have been some other states that have taken some of their low-level offenses, either drug possession or some of the low-level property crimes, and reclassified them, changed them to misdemeanors. But Proposition 47 is the first time that voters have not only said we want to make these offenses misdemeanors, but we actually want to capture that prison savings and we want to redirect it towards the things that we know work, which include mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, and diversion programs. And that really is what makes Proposition 47 so historic. That money is going to allow for a wide range of programs locally to take place. Since Proposition 47 passed, we've already seen a significant drop in the state's prison population, allowing the state to meet its court-ordered population cap 1 year ahead of time before it was required to. We had estimated $70 million in savings just in this first year alone from the state prison system. And we've seen tens of thousands of people already able to change their records and be able to get the felony charge that may have prevented them from housing, employment, a range of other barriers, be able to go back and change those records. So it really has been an honor and a privilege to be able to work with so many community organizations, both in the passage and now in the implementation of Proposition 47. Thank you very much for the chance to hear the public comment tonight.
And next, also very fortunate to have Ken Spence, who currently works in the drafting of 1056, which has really basically given us some direction where we should head with the implementation of Prop 47. Ken is, I was reading his introduction, and he is unusual to be here in public policy because he really began his career in entomology, the study of insects at UC Davis. He is a PhD. He came to the Capitol as a fellow and was gripped by the need to serve. And so here he is. I don't know that he's going to talk to us at all about anything with his previous life, but if he did, it would be fascinating. Take it, Ken.
Thanks, Linda. And, I appreciate the chance to be here tonight and make a few remarks. As Linda said, I work for Speaker Atkins. She's the head of the State Assembly, and I am part of a policy unit covering public safety budget and our select committee on boys and men of color. I worked for the Speaker for a little over a year now, and during that time, she's shown a deep and continued commitment to addressing issues facing disadvantaged communities. And as far as the public safety realm, there's been 2 measures that come out of our office dealing with recidivism reduction. Our Pay for Success grant program aimed at reducing recidivism, and AB 1056, which provides guidance for the investment of the Prop 47 savings. Both of these initiatives were designed to help local communities have the tools and resources they need to assist folks trying to reenter, to lower recidivism and reduce incarceration. And each one has specific components calling for collaboration, outreach, and transparency. And with regard to AB 1056, our hope is that it will bring will help with a wide range of issues facing at-risk, justice-involved, and formerly incarcerated individuals. A major feature of the bill that was not part of the original proposition is housing. Housing and the Housing First model are both very important to the speaker. She's been working very hard to tackle homelessness in California and sees these as vital tools. I think we all know that securing stable housing can be a major challenge for folks upon release when they're trying to reenter the community. So we want to be sure that the property savings, in addition to being spent on mental health treatment and substance abuse treatment, also help folks connect with affordable, stable housing and supportive wraparound services. And in crafting this piece of it, we want to make sure it was also flexible. Some folks might need some rental assistance for a period of time. Others might just need help repairing their credit or help finding a landlord who's open-minded enough to see past their record to give them a chance at a housing unit. There were two other aspects of the bill that were very important to the speaker. First, again, is this word collaboration. We want to make sure that collaborative proposals that involve the community and community-based organizations in a real and meaningful way will give priority as far as grant funding. Our intention is that folks work across silos and pool resources and expertise to really tackle this problem together. The other component that was important is that we really wanted the formerly incarcerated community to have a voice at the table. So we push to have them included in the steering committee that will help administer the grant process. The other thing I'd like to emphasize is that although the speaker's two bills dealing with recidivism are, I think, important and will hopefully be very helpful, it's part of, I think, of a larger movement, which Linda mentioned, that's becoming more progressive in the Capitol. And I think that part of it is the activity of our Select Committee on Boys and Men of Colors. I think in a lot of respects, that Select Committee and their partnership with the Alliance for Boys and Men of Color, which is a coalition of community-based organizations, philanthropic foundations, some of which are here tonight, local governments, they're pursuing policies and starting discussions that I think are helping to move the conversation forward in a progressive way. And I think it's beginning to shift the focus of different organizations. I think beginning to shift the focus of the BSCC. And I commend them for their efforts of outreach to the community with events like this here tonight. And I look forward to seeing more of these and participating in them. And I also would encourage all of you, if there's ways we can improve the process, if you have suggestions and insights, feel free, not only tonight, but in the future, to reach out to our office with your input. And I'll stop there and look forward to the public comment.
And last but not least to speak this evening is my colleague, Katie Howard, who's the Executive Director of the BSCC. Katie actually will be discussing the nuts and bolts on how we will roll out the Executive Steering Committee and the rules and regulations associated with what we have been charged to do. Katie is very experienced in terms of a long career in public policy, primarily with the judicial branch, but she's been with us for 2 years, and I cannot tell you how lucky we are to have her. She is into the process, and she will ensure that we adhere to what we are charged with doing and roll out something I think that we'll all be proud of at the end of the day. So take it, Katie.
Thank you very much, Linda, and good evening, everybody. Thank you all for being here. We are really pleased to have the opportunity to hear directly from you about your ideas, concerns, and thoughts about priorities under this really important grant program that the BSCC has really the honor and privilege to administer. So as Linda said, I'm going to walk through the nuts and bolts. I want to review the BSCC's responsibilities and how the process will work for administering the grants under Prop 47 and further modified by AB 1056, as you've heard about from Elizabeth and Ken. So as you probably know, the BSCC will be responsible for a grant program with 65% of the state savings that results from the changes in the law under Prop 47. So I wanted to start with that anticipated savings question. The Department of Finance, which is basically the office within the governor's arena that manages all of the budgetary stuff, the Department of Finance, or DOF, has the responsibility for determining and calculating what the state savings is. So a very big question mark that's hanging out there for all of us is, what will that total state savings be? The estimate that was in the analysis that was on the ballot last year indicated a pretty significant amount of state savings that was anticipated, about $250 million annually. 65% of that amount would be over $160 million, but everybody needs to keep in mind that that was an estimate, and we just don't know yet what the state savings will actually be. They could be lower, they could conceivably be higher, and we just don't know yet. When the governor releases the budget in January of 2016, there will be an estimate of that amount. So at least at that point, it will be in the ballpark in terms of knowing what amount of funding will be available for these grants for very important purposes. As Elizabeth pointed out, and Ken as well, the focus of Proposition 47 grants is mental health services, substance use disorder treatment services, diversion programs, and as further modified by 1056, housing assistance, job-related services, other civil legal services, and case management. These are the purposes for Prop 47 grants. Many of you are aware that the BSCC has many other responsibilities, including funding for jail construction projects. That is a completely separate funding process. Prop 47 funding cannot be used to construct jails. The law doesn't allow it. I can hopefully get that out there right away. I wanted to put up a slide just to further emphasize the point that takes the wording from the proposition on these grant responsibilities. So you'll see up there, I hope you can read that. As you've heard, it's for mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, diversion programs, with an emphasis on programs that reduce recidivism for people affected by the changes in Prop 47. So now I want to turn to the process for the development of the grant applications. You've heard us talk about the Executive Steering Committee process, and Ken mentioned it as part of AB 1056, excuse me. That Executive Steering Committee, or we call it ESC for short, will include subject matter experts on these issues. Here's a slide on the Executive Steering Committee. AB 1056 specifically requires that there be a balanced and diverse membership from relevant state and local government entities, community-based treatment and service providers, and the formerly incarcerated community as well. Relevant state and local government entities will be involved, and there needs to be expertise on that group in homelessness and housing, behavioral health and substance abuse treatment, and effective rehabilitative treatment for adults and juveniles. So in terms of the process, the BSCC will be meeting on November 12th of this year, which is about 2 weeks away. And we anticipate that the board will appoint an executive steering committee chair at that meeting and then launch a process to identify the remaining members of the ESC. We're highly aware of the intense level of stakeholder interest. So what we will do, what we have done for some recent ESCs, is we will put an announcement on the BSCC website that allows anyone who's interested in participating in the ESC to basically send an email that indicates who you are, what your background is, what your professional experience is, what your life experience is that makes you interested in participating. We usually have about 15 members on those executive steering committees. I imagine we'll have interest from a very, very large number of people. So we'll go through a process where we need to pay attention to some of those other features that were outlined in AB 1056, as well as just all the things you would anticipate to have a really strong statewide committee. You need good geographic representation, professional representation, racial and ethnic diversity, small counties, large counties, all those different types of background need to be considered. So the board will approve, I think, what's going to be an absolutely outstanding committee roster, most likely in April of 2016. So all of that by way of background, we want to move into the public comment process. And I believe at latest count, we have 35 speakers who have turned in cards and requested to speak. We're not going to be calling you up to the microphone. We wanted to just do this in a more informal way. So we can form a couple of lines, and our staff will will help if we need that. But what we thought we would do is just ask people to come up and maybe 3-4 at a time by the microphones. If we can please put 2 minutes on the timer when we're ready to start. And we really appreciate each speaker honoring that time frame so that everyone who's here will have the chance to speak. As Linda mentioned earlier, we're also taking comments in writing on the BSCC website, so please feel free to add more in writing. All the comments that we receive, both here as people give their comments, in real time, we'll be taking notes on that. We'll also be summarizing the written comments that come in on the website. And we also know that you may have questions here tonight. This is more of an opportunity for us to listen to you. We will, of course, note your questions, but we probably won't be able to answer them here unless it's a very simple, quick thing. But we will note the questions. We're happy to follow up with you by email, and we would urge you to go to the BSCC website when you can, because there's a really excellent frequently asked questions document there. We'll take the additional questions we get tonight and keep updating those. I really want to acknowledge my colleague, Ricardo Goodridge, who's been our lead staff on Prop 47. He's done an absolutely amazing job in coordinating all of this, as well as all of our BSCC team. Thank you all very, very much. Ricardo, do you want to sort of give the direction for the public comment?
Sure, and just actually by way of following up on what Katie said, so it looks like we're up to 38 public comment cards, and a few of our staff said that there were a few of you that were unsure if you wanted to speak. If that's the case, I will just walk down to the back of the room. If you have a public comment card, you just want to hand it over to me, that would be great, just so that we can make sure we have a good count. Other than that, as Katie said, if you could just form 2 lines to the microphone, and we'll begin the process that way.
All right, thank you. Sure. Okay, Ricardo, I think is just going to walk through the room to
So
check.
does anyone
the
else have
cards.
a public comment card?
Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
He's shy. I don't think so. Okay, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, telling us where you're from, and
Absolutely. Good evening. My name is Shalonda Jackson Jasper. I am an organizer with OCO PICO, and I believe that the funding priorities for the Prop 47 grant should be wraparound services that are successful community-based services. I made some notes because I can get off track easily. So what I wanted to say is that I am a formerly incarcerated person. I have been to every prison in California for women from 18 to 28 years old because I suffer from the disease of addiction. I am also a mother of 2 children. One of them is also in prison right now, doing 26 years. I participated in many programs inside of prison, and they were good programs to pass the time. But what I understand from having been to all the prisons in California for women and participating in many of the services for drug offenders or S-Time with Les Brown, all these things, none of them are helpful to people if you don't have someone at the gate ready to support that person through the community, to the community. Programs are really just a way to pass the time, other than that. And so I think it's really important that people who get the money from the Prop 47 grants should be the people who are willing to help the inmates come out and be successful, because we can. And I just want to end with that I just recently graduated from Cal State East Bay with a 3.7 grade point average. I am a caseworker for homeless veterans at a nonprofit, and it happens, it works if you work it.
thank you, Sharon.
Good evening. My name is John Jones III. I'm on staff for the Helen Baker Center for Human Rights. as well as a community leader or OCO. And allow me to credential myself real quick. See, I'm an expert when it comes to reentry services. I received my degree from Penn State. Excuse me, I'm dyslexic. The State Penn. I'm formerly incarcerated. But I share that with you for a reason. I want you to see my face and see the face of Shalonda and imagine the possibilities that people can become productive, contributing members of society if they receive services and programs that would meet them where they at and help them. So when we talk about where the funding should go, a number of organizations here locally, we have been hosting Prop 47 implementation events. And we realize, first of all, there's barriers. First of all, to get a rap sheet, to obtain a rap sheet, or to do a live scan, there is a fee associated. I believe everybody should have free access to their rap sheet. If we are serious about community and public safety, I submit to you the public and the community is who? It's what? It's the family unit. We have to make sure we remove every barrier from housing and employment that will stabilize our family units here and throughout the state of California. We definitely want to see more funding allocated toward legal services so folks can receive the help that they need. The spirit of Prop 47, through the voters of California, have indicated that these low-level offenses are offenses that people should not only be, they should not be incarcerated for, but they should not be a barrier. So to honor that spirit, we have to allocate more funding toward implementation. The last thing I want to leave you with is this. Keep in mind, Moses, when he was younger, murdered a man. But later on, he became one of the most powerful prophets in the Judeo-Christian Islamic faith. There are a lot of people who have made mistakes. I don't ascribe to this theory of pitting one class of folks against another. I don't believe one group of people are more deserving than another. So when we talk about people who commit low-level offenses, we should not pit them against other people who have been convicted of what's considered violent offenses, because there's other conditions associated. So when we talk about criminology, let us not distance the conditions that lead to, that create, in a lot of cases, perpetuate. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's kind of hard to follow. My name is Jasmine Canfield. I am a substance use counselor at Heart Oakland. I work with people who have substance abuse issues, primarily opiate addiction. I see firsthand how Prop 47 has changed people's lives. I also have seen how drug addiction can affect people's lives in a negative way, and it's not. I don't think that people should be judged based off of the disease of addiction. I think that Prop 47 definitely has helped people to remove the barriers that are there. People can find jobs. Before it was hopeless. I know I have a client that I work with who was able to find work as a butcher for 2 weeks. He was able to do that job, did it well. They ran his background check. He was fired. Now with Prop 47, he's able to have a chance. So I feel that wraparound service is definitely something that's needed. Also, the funding for substance use is also necessary as well. That's all.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Esther Goldsby, and I'm a community activist. I am here not only with these great, fabulous people to say a message, but I'm here basically to say this to you, that you should not have to have people come in here and speak in comments, because actually the people that you should be listening to are the ones outside on the streets dealing with this right now. We need you, we need to ask for your support to put fundings where it should go. We need to ask and beg for this to happen. The sad thing is that the ones that need it the most are not here, not all of them. The ones that need it the most are the ones out there crying and begging and yelling and screaming and dying and bleeding in our streets right now. Money is important to a lot of people, but lives should be more important than money. Profit and where the funding would possibly go, it should come to the people that need it the most. And this is going to be repeated over and over and over again tonight. But mainly, I just want you to feel. You shouldn't just have to see these people, because unfortunately how the media is biased. But if you just take some rides around our streets and actually listen and talk to people and start feeling and get to know people, maybe you can see and won't have to have public comments and people come up in here and do this all the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James Davis Jr. and I'm a substance abuse counselor at Hart Oakland, and I've been a substance abuse counselor for the past 8 years. I'm also a recovering addict and an ex-felon. And for 10 to 15 years of my life, I went in and out of prisons. And it wasn't until the courts allowed me access to treatment that I was able to finally put pieces of my life back together. And I stand here today before you to say that treatment works, and I think the funds should be allocated to treatment. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Lejae Harper Claiborne. I don't know why I feel like saying my maiden name today, but and I am here representing the community, but more importantly, a wife of a victim of the California Penal Code system courts. My husband's been in and out since the age of 18, and he's 31, and they're quick to violate him for probation or parole because he doesn't have an address or because he doesn't have a job. But when it's, oh, can you help me get housing, hang up, or I'll get back to you on that. So having money go into community organizations that can provide wraparound services for folks on parole and probation that are coming home is definitely a necessity. And also that the solution to substance abuse is not through incarceration. And the solution to mental health is not through incarceration into a place that is going to further beat people down, and it makes you feel like an ant, a piece of dirt on the ground. So how is that rehabilitating anything? Please put the money into community-based organizations for our sake.
Hi, my name is Kiora, and I'm 18, and I'm with the Center for Young Women's Development. But we're calling it the Young Women's Freedom Center now. We're changing the name, and we feel like the money should go towards the housing for the people going through the re-entry process, because a lot of times they get out and they don't have nowhere to go home to, so they're forced to do a lot of the things that put them in jail in the first place. So we feel like if they had somewhere stable to go when they got out, that would be thanks.
Hi, my name is Rochelle Pierre, and I'm the Wellness Director at the Center for Young Women's Development in San Francisco. And I really think that we really need to put money into mental health, because when people are incarcerated, they do become traumatized, and some of the trauma happened in the community, which led them to becoming incarcerated in the first place. And so some of the money should go into that, definitely, and create stable housing, so programs that have housing in the communities so that they can revitalize their communities, have support to get back into the workforce, and also have the services that they need, especially mental health services. I see a lot of the young people that I work with that are traumatized from having parents who've been in jail, and they have grown up with no one to care for them, and then they repeat the cycle. You know, the system is broken. We already know that a lot of people have been penalizing people for their pain instead of lifting them up. So with this money, I hope that's what we do. We lift up communities to revitalize them and make sure that the trauma that we have inflicted on them because of this system is wiped away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tom Luce. The important thing for me being here is that I am from a group called BOCA, which is Berkeley Organizing Congregations for Action. It's an interfaith group in Berkeley, 19 congregations, and we work very hard to pass Prop 47. So we're glad that that passed, and we're glad that you're here listening to these needs. I guess all of the things that have been mentioned are very important, but we're looking at some very innovative programs for at-risk youth. In Berkeley, for instance, alone, there are a lot of homeless youth. Not that necessarily they're on the street, but they don't have any place to live for whatever reason. And we've got programs there, and there should be more, training them to get jobs, art, and other kinds of things, gardening, that are different. And so the old system got all these people in jail. We need to have a different system, and we're glad that you're here listening to this. So creative, involving at-risk youth in training, but of course with the mental health support and the legal support. Thank you.
My name's Daniel Cohen. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm a consultant in the Alameda County System of Care for behavioral health care services. So I work with the Public Department of Health. I'm currently working with the East Bay Community Law Center, Bay Area Community Services, and building opportunities for self-sufficiency. So I've been working in the mental health system for 15 years. And I have quite a breadth of experience, and I work, you know, on the front lines every day in all of these different programs. What I came here to speak about briefly is the lack of community services that there are for folks with severe and persistent mental illness that are preventative services for incarceration. I read progress notes and documentation for the treatment that's provided in prisons every day in my work. The care that is provided in prison is extremely superficial. What we're talking about is a psychiatrist coming to the bars and asking whether somebody wants medications. You know, when somebody is isolated in a cell, really, you know, in a traumatic situation, it's very difficult to accept and receive services in that kind of context. So what I'm here to argue is I want to support the priority of funding community-based programs. Our response in the community mental health system to try to prevent incarceration is referring people who are in great need to programs like the Forensic Act Team, to programs like the advocacy organizations that are out there, and to other mental health programs that are intensive types of services. We are constantly being denied access to those services because they're just not funded well enough, and there's just not enough capacity in them. So I'm here just to argue for that as a priority. And to argue against any kind of expansion in, you know, for mental health services within the prisons. We need to prevent incarceration, not provide treatment in practice.
Hello, hi, I'm Julia Arroyo, and I'm the program manager for the Young Women's Freedom Center. So I'm also formerly incarcerated myself, and I am a student at City College majoring in women's studies. And some of the things that I came up with here, wrote them down. The trauma recovery services were really important for me when, as my process in coming back into the community. Reunification plans for families, affordable housing, like just secured housing right when you get out. Like that is something that's key. And outreach programs, and then community programs that give me a sense of community and culture, and mental health, and then public spaces. Oh yeah, the show culture, I already said that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Reverend Demita Davis Howard, and I'm a leader at Oakland Community Organizations, a federation of Pico, California. We also have federations in both Bakersfield and San Bernardino for the ladies over here. You probably know some of our leaders. Joey Williams might be one you might know. Anyway, I wanted to say, when you let the grants for this program, I think that specifically the language says you have to let them to public agencies. I think you need to require that those public agencies have partnerships with community-based programs. Because 9 times out of 10, a lot of public agencies do not hire the formerly incarcerated or those in recovery. And all of the folks who need to be at the table and actually doing the work to help this population be the folks that they want to be. So I think that you should require that they have a partnership with community-based organizations that they themselves have involved in the treatment, in the programs, formerly incarcerated, those in recovery, those who have mental health issues themselves, that those who are being serviced are part of the treatment process. And so I think that I want to be very specific. I'll say it again because I believe that repetition is the key to marketing. That you can't just let the money into public agencies. As much as I love them and I believe in public services, they need to be partnered with community groups.
Yeah, right.
They need to be partnered with community groups who know how to service these people for real. So again, when you are coming up with a way to let these grants, I know you have to put them out to public agencies, but those public agencies should have to provide a plan of partnership with the community. Yeah. Amen?
Okay, to start getting down a little bit. So my name is Manuel Jimenez, and I'm the Behavioral Health Director for Alameda County. I just want to echo what this young lady just said, because I want to let you know what's unique about Alameda County. 85% of our mental health services are provided by community providers. So we do that. 100% of our substance abuse services are contracted out to community providers. So we're doing it right in Alameda County, and because we're doing it right, I believe that the state should distribute the money to counties because we can do it better, right? Isn't that what Governor Brown is saying? So we should do that. And I just want to say that, again, 65% of this funding is supposed to be going to substance abuse services, mental health services, and other diversion programs. So if counties get that money, if behavioral health departments get that money, let's say, for example, Alameda County's allocation was $10 million, I could double that by building Medi-Cal. And with the 1115 drug Medi-Cal waiver, we can really capitalize on the resources we're bringing into Alameda County. And it makes it a win-win solution for the folks that are getting services from all of these community providers, because people are going to recover. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Emily Harris, and I am with the Ella Baker Center, and I really appreciate you all holding this space, and we're looking forward to bringing community members to all of the other hearings as well. And I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the nuances with this money. I know you all spoke around the Board of State and Community Corrections granting around jail construction money, SB 863, SB 1022, and AB 900, and I get that's not what we're talking about tonight. But I want to lay out a warning around a trend that we have seen happening in California, which is that of law enforcement trying to disguise themselves as service providers. Yeah. That we're building new mental health jails, new treatment facilities, and actually what that really is a move for law enforcement to snatch this money. And to snatch it away from all of the people here in this room that are gonna provide you way better outcomes than any cop is ever gonna do providing a service. So I want to ask you, whose capacity are you going to choose to build with these resources? And if you care about trying to reduce recidivism, then don't build the capacity of sheriffs to be locking more people up. And please be careful. I come from a privileged white family that has substance use issues. My brother's been arrested several times for his drug use, and we have been able to access services because of our privilege. And what we're seeing is that low-income people and people of color are having to get felony convictions to be able to access mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment, and other services. And so yes, we all agree that services should exist in prisons and jails, quality, high quality services. But we don't want to follow the trend of always putting the money there first and then never having the money later in the community. And we don't want it to be required that somebody has to go to jail to get those services. And that's going to be on you all to decide where that is.
Good evening, and thank you for being here to share information and take public comment. My name is Pastor Jacqueline Duhart, and I serve as the Minister for Faith and Action at the First Unitarian Church of Oakland. And we look forward to the next 6 opportunities to bring more people to share our thoughts. I'm a retired military officer where I've served for 21 years as a mental health officer. I was a drug and alcohol officer. Once I got out of the military, I worked in the state of Alaska with individuals who lived in the bush who had been violated sexually and mentally. I also worked in the probation department, and I worked on the inside at the women's prison in Dublin. And what my lived experience tells me is that all of those things were wonderful, but my claim to fame is being the oldest in a family of 5. My brother spent 15 years down in a Texas prison. And when he came out, all the money that I was making went to support my family, to support my brother. So this is what my lived experience tells me, not theory, but lived experiences, that when people come out of prison, human beings come out of prison, they need opportunities that are immediate, that are reliable, programs that are tested, that have proven positive outcomes to make a change. Not the shell game of people who don't know what they're doing. They need to have programs that reunify them with their children and their families. They need to be able to reestablish legal documents like driver's license. They need mentorship programs. They need job training programs. They need educational programs. They need free access to see their rap sheet. They need legal services. And they need somebody to establish an advocacy program in the community where you go around and say, oh, you employer, look at this person, it's a human being. He or she or they or girl can do these things, to really advocate with employers to hire people who once thrived while they lived inside, to get outside, to be worthy individuals that they are. Thank you very much.
Like she said. My name's Heather McLeod. I'm an educator. I'm a member of the First Unitarian Church of Oakland and a friend of the Ella Baker Center. But I'm really here to speak for my godson, little Charlie, who's 30 years old, but he's in solitary in Victorville right now, so he can't. So when his family was impacted by incarceration when he was a little kid, luckily he had Aunt Nettie he could go live with. But when his family lost their housing when he was 13, I made him a deal he could stay with me if he'd go to school. And I guess what I want to say is what she said, but more, because you could have seen this coming. He had issues with substance abuse. He had issues with impulse control. And I looked for services. I backed him up the best I could personally, but there were not services in the community for him. You could have predicted that he would have gone through the system, that he would have spent time in solitary. It did not make him more stable. It did not make his life better to be in prison. My experience is that jails hurt people's mental health. He hears voices now. He hears voices. I said, what do those voices sound like? And they sound like this. I'm gonna catch you. They're scary. So I want to say also all of those services we need before anyone gets into the system. because it's predictable that when people's lives are a certain way, and also just if you haven't seen that movie about the Stanford prison experiment, I couldn't even make it through more than 30 minutes of it. But prison makes people crazy, it makes the guards crazy, and it makes the people in prison crazy, and it would make any of us crazy. So please, community-based organizations that know what people's lives are really like, not just the people who can get hired by public organizations. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Prince White. I work for Urban Peace Movement, and I work with young black men that are at risk, transitional age youth that are between the ages of 16 and 24. And I'm here to tell you that these young men here, they need more than just services that are in jail. They need services that are in the community, that are culturally appropriate, that make sense for them, like our healing circle that we hold every Wednesday night. We have one going on right now where our young men are sitting together with elders, an intergenerational setting where they have people that are around them that know that they're cared about. They have community like these people right here that have shown up today to let you know what it is that our people need. And we need to have spaces on this board, on this executive steering committee for the people that are just like the ones that are in this room right now. The ones that actually work with this population, the ones that have actually been inside and then come back out and then work to help those people that they left behind. You know, you really need to listen to the community here. I really hope with all of my heart that you hear these voices, that you hear these experiences, and that you know that our young men don't need more of a space to suffocate on the floor like Mario Martinez did in the supervision of the sheriff. They don't need that. What they need is people like me. They need people like the people that are in this room right now that are going to be there for them and teach them how to make a living, how to make sense of this world that seemingly is against them. They need ways to learn how to make money. They need jobs. They need employment. They need housing. Please do housing. Housing. My young men need housing. They need jobs to occupy their time. They don't need more space to just sit and rot in Santa Rita. I've seen the inside of Santa Rita. It's unsanitary. It's overcrowded. They pack the cells 3 times capacity. It's not the place where you want to invest this money if you want to make the community safer and you want to make it a more just space for our young people. Please reach into the community and not just into those jails for a space for our mental health care. Thank you.
My name is Eliza Hirsch. I'm an attorney at the East Bay Community Law Center. I direct the Reentry Legal Service project called Clean Slate there. I really appreciate you. I think I'm a little too short. I really appreciate you being here, and I personally felt pressed to be here upon reading something by another member of the board, and I'm going to read it right now. We would like to reiterate that law enforcement leaders and crime victim advocates overwhelmingly oppose Prop 47 and agree that it rewrites our laws to benefit criminals. This proposition is nothing more than a lengthy piece of special interest legislation that will cause irrevocable harm and will have a detrimental impact in California. Now, that was obviously something that a member of your board, a probation chief, said before Prop 47 passed, and I'm very glad that the voters in California didn't share his opinion. I'm also very glad that our probation partners here in this room tonight, I won't speak for what they think, but in their actions, I don't believe they share that opinion either. I want to say, though, that we in Oakland, we have taken a different path. Maybe we live in a bubble. We are talking about the whole state of California, and I understand that your opinions are really important to take back and share to this board that makes decisions for the whole state. I will say that the people who have worked in community services here have witnessed the possibility of transformation and successful return to community done by community partners. I'll say before, it's not just in partnership with community, it has to be services that are led by, planned, and delivered by community partners with the expertise. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Sabir Willie Redlock Jr., and I'm basically compelled to come to these type of programs because I'm the face of what we're talking about right now. Right now, today, I paroled from prison June 7th. I'm doing 22 years. And I am faced with housing problems. I'm faced with sustainable employment problems. And I'm faced with a system that's designed with a blanket system that's saying everyone fits up under the same blanket. and everyone don't fit up under the same blanket. Some people need substance abuse issues, some people need mental health issues, and other people have the ability to be successful, but they don't have the medium necessary to be successful. You know, I'm going to college right now, full-time. I'm also working full-time. However, I'm also being conditioned by programs that's telling me I have to participate a mandatory 6 hours a week that's stepping into my education as well as my employment, or I'm not gonna have housing. And that's an issue and that's a problem. So we need funding that's gonna be sustainable and individualized to help people necessary and to put them in the direction they need to be in. And also would like to mirror the issue of those who are in a position to help people. You know, when I was incarcerated, I graduated from college in social science, early childhood education. I graduated with business and honors. Also was a spiritual leader for the last 13 years. But when I got out and tried to do that type of work, there was no avenues, no mediums for me to do so. There was programs set up to help people get jobs in a warehouse, but not to set up to help people who can help the people in our communities benefit from the experience that we've been through. So when I tell them, oh, here go my resume, and I'm dressed in my tie, and I'm dressed professional, and I'm presenting myself well, they tell me, well, how about retail sales? And I tell them I want to go in counseling. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tash Wynn. I'm with the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights. Thank you so much for kicking off your Prop 47 tour in Alameda County. I also appreciate the BSCC for adding 3 new people of color onto the board. But what I find incredibly troubling is that there are 4 of the 3 BSCC members actively opposed Proposition 47 when it was on the ballot, and I wonder why, and you don't have to answer it, but I wonder what qualified them to be on the board in the first place, especially now that we're trusting them to dole millions of dollars out for substance abuse and mental health issues. And so I don't think that it's a coincidence that the reason why you're seeing so many counties apply through SB 863 for mental health jails is because they think and trust the BSCC to line law enforcement pockets with mental health programs in the jail. And we're here to say no to that. I'd like you to prioritize excluding law enforcement from the entire Proposition 47 application process. To rate, and I think a lot of people have said that, but to explicitly exclude them from applying, because first off, folks who are locked up you can't bill Medicaid for any mental health or any medical service that you get in the jail. The cost ends up being very expensive because the county has to incur it. So I want you to prioritize rating public agencies that actually provide health care in the county higher ratings if you don't exclude law enforcement, and on top of that, rate public agencies that promise to procure funding to community-based organizations that are run by systems impacted people even higher ratings. Thank you.
Hello, so my name is Marlene Sanchez. I'm here with, you guys hear me? Hey Elizabeth, how are you? I'm with Communities United for Restorative Justice. Folks have said it already. We are here to prioritize services in the community. I do want to reiterate comprehensive, culturally appropriate services for both young people and adults who don't speak English as well, so monolingual speaking communities. And I also want to make sure that we are also creating and replicating the same kind of systems that we know don't work. So if we are, many times we've seen kind of programs that feel like jails in the communities, and so, you know, as a young person and who experienced most of my teenage years in and out of facilities, to go to programs that still feel like jails, or even when we're creating housing that still feels transitional age youth with programs that, you know, have so many restrictions. The goal is to support and to provide those comprehensive services, yes, but I also want us to make sure that we're not creating a mini kind of group home or jail in the community, and that we're truly ensuring that they're run by and for community. And then I had a question. I know you might not be able to answer it, but I wanted to know how many formerly incarcerated people are going to be prioritized to be on the BSCC. And as a formerly incarcerated person, I want to make sure that it's not just one person who's being tokenized to be on the BSCC, but that we're really prioritizing the voice of formerly incarcerated people in a real way.
Is it on?
Hello?
I think it's clicked off.
Hello?
Is it clicked off? It'll take a minute. It'll take a second. There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Lizzie Buchan. I'm with Californians United for a Responsible Budget. And I want to reiterate what a lot of folks have been saying about how important it is that these funds go to community-based programs run by community members. That is what the voters intended with Prop 47, and that's what the legislature intended and emphasized with AB 1056. And on November 12th, the BSCC's meeting where you will be selecting the chair of the Prop 47 funds, that's also the same meeting that you'll be deciding on where to award $500 million of jail construction funds. And I'm aware that these are two separate pots of money, but I do want to iterate what a few other folks have said, that it's really important that these funds do not go into reinforcing those structures and going into those new facilities, many of which have been promoted as mental health facilities. And I think that as Marlene was saying, that it's important that the Executive Steering Committee, the composition of that committee follows the spirit of AB 1056 and includes formerly incarcerated and convicted people, includes people who are experts at providing mental health services, substance use services, diversion programs, housing assistance, experts in homelessness, that are representative of the communities that will be impacted by this initiative and by these funds. And I don't think that this Executive Steering Committee is a place that needs representation of law enforcement, and particularly not sheriffs, which I think tend to be overrepresented on a lot of the executive steering committees that the BSCC has formed. And I think that it's important that this process is as transparent as possible, involves as much community input as possible, and I really appreciate you starting it off with this hearing. I think that bodes well, and so I really hope that this continues throughout the entire granting process. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Erica Webster. I'm with the Center on Juvenile and Criminal Justice in San Francisco. I just want to thank everybody on the panel for coming here tonight and hosting this meeting and listening what the community members have to say about Prop 47. I think a lot of people are here because they're excited about the opportunity to invest in communities that have been involved with the justice system. And I think going forward, the first thing that we have to do is, when we're creating this ESC, is to involve formerly incarcerated people first and foremost. We also need mental health experts, homelessness experts, substance abuse experts, and then community-based service providers who are providing cultural and gender-informed care to the people in these communities. AB 1056 prioritizes funding to public agencies who partner with community-based services. First of all, we're really happy to see that community-based services are being prioritized, but when we develop this RFP, that should be more than prioritized. It should be basically mandatory. And we also want to make clear that public agencies doesn't just mean jails and law enforcement agencies. AB 1056 asks for funding to support mental health services, substance abuse programs, and those don't have to happen in the jails. They can happen outside in the community, being provided by these community-based services. Something else that we would like to see is a very transparent process when it comes to the eventual funding decisions the ESC is going to make. Much like this panel that you're having now, we would like to have community involved meetings to discuss the RFP, to get the community involved in what the RFP looks like, what public agencies ask for funding, and then what public agencies receive funding. So this is a great start, but we'd like to see more of that. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Kathy Rades with the First Unitarian Church of Oakland here in partnership with the Ella Baker Center. And I want to thank you for being here and listening, because I think what you're hearing is just a tiny sliver of the engagement and the creativity and the readiness that Oakland has and Alameda County has for this funding. I mean, this is the community that's going to make a difference. Jail is a moment, it should be a moment, but it is not the place where these services are going to be provided. It is this community that's here to work with the people who are in the criminal justice system and who are going to be coming home to this community. And I think that you're going to hear that up and down the state, that there is creativity and there's energy and there are people ready to make a difference in these programs, and that does not require expanding the mandate, whether it's at Santa Rita or any of the jails. I think we all understand the pressure that realignment has put on our local community facilities. For Prop 47 is not the way to alleviate that problem in the short run with funding. It is a long run vision to create the community investment that's going to make a difference and keep people out of those community facilities in the first place. Thank you.
Good evening, my name's Ivan, and I wanted to share a little bit about my family story. One of my cousins and former family members have been formerly incarcerated, and I think it's important to think about families as just as important as folks that are incarcerated, because for my family at least, it's difficult to see that the culture around or surrounding jails for them before was, this is where he needs to be, this is what he's doing, and he's made a mistake and he's going to correct it. But over time, really looking at how different someone's changing and how difficult it is for that person to be seen as someone that can then come out of jail and be self-sustaining. And I think that that's something that continues to reiterate in my mind. How is it best to include the safety of our communities and not to listen to the community that those folks are coming from? And to talk about that is to talk about the community services that are already in place in our communities and are already doing that work with family members and community members that have people inside. And so I would also not only support what everybody else has to say, but also in our executive steering committee, I would hope that it would be exclusively based on community organizations and organizations that provide services for folks in the community, so that we really see these grants going into sustainable organizations that are already doing this work outside of the community and are not hoping that, like many family members who still may not see the experience of having someone inside, really start to think about maybe what are some of the ways that we can welcome someone into our community in a way that's self-sustaining for them, but also helpful for their mental health and the mental health of their family members. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I want to also thank you for being here tonight to listen to our comments. I want to reflect what a number of people have said about the community-based organizations and the importance of culturally relevant services and for mental health and substance abuse. And I also want to encourage you in the steering committee to please recruit individuals who are formerly incarcerated, service providers, and other community-based organizations that have valuable knowledge and insight into the experience that could really shape the process. And I myself grew up with a brother who suffers from mental illness, currently in jail. That was the safety net. There's no safety nets. There's not enough safety nets available, and jail ends up being a resource. And because of my family's access to resource and privilege, we were able to, for many, 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 many years, keep him out of jail. And that's something that so many families of color and low-income families don't have an opportunity to do. And so therefore, those families end up being targeted, and it's absurd that we would rely on jails to be giving mental health and substance abuse. There is no amount of money that could go into jails that would create sustainable, effective, humane treatment for those individuals. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maria.
Excuse me for just a minute. We didn't get your name.
Thank
you, Amanda.
Hi, my name is Maria Dominguez. I'm from the organization People United for a Better Life in Oakland, Pueblo, and I'm a program manager of a program called Highway to Work, which provides employment and education services for youth who are system impacted. Your task is to fund recidivism reduction services related to housing, substance abuse, and employment-related services. So you should really embed metrics that hold the public agencies accountable for providing evidence-based practices and results that will actually reduce recidivism, not just recycle the dollars and actually not reduce recidivism. And we need to see more about what is going to be put in place to make sure that that is being tracked, because that is a huge issue across the United States, the lack of data being collected about how all this money being funneled into the system, and especially into the law enforcement system, and how it is or not effective. There are many great models that can be replicated across the 58 counties in California if they are funded, and that's a big piece, and we hope that the money does trickle down to the community-based organizations. The services should be culturally responsive, gender responsive, and age responsive. The services should be rooted in the reality that incarceration is a public health issue and largely a mental health issue because of the untreated trauma in our communities due to racism, classism, sexism, ageism, homophobia, transphobia, anti-immigrant sentiment, disableism, and underinvestment and even divestment of historically marginalized communities. So this is something huge. Obviously, Prop 47 and the savings will not be a cure-all for this issue of mass incarceration and this really epidemic that we have across the United States. But you, under your leadership, you can really put a dent on mass incarceration and continue to drive down the number of people that have to sleep tonight in cages, especially, you know, the most vulnerable in our population, and especially set up a society where youth can really look forward to being productive and getting good education and good life opportunities. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Laura Mignani with the American Friends Service Committee. I've been working on these issues since the 1970s. And I was really glad to hear the chair say she saw this as a kind of a turning point, that we're really at a place now where we might be able to do some good in this process instead of the kind of violence that's been done for so many decades. I hope you're right, and I see some evidence of that. We're certainly seeing a shrinking in the prison population and people are being released, but I'm also seeing over and over and over again the money going back into incarceration and building and expanding carceral system. I was really glad to hear Mr. Spence talk about some of the additions to the list of priorities, particularly housing. Here we are in the Bay Area. Nobody can live in the Bay Area. That's the fact of the matter. So we have to be really creative and really responsible for the fact that we're bringing people back here and they need a place to live. We need not only jobs, but to remove the barriers from jobs, because you can have people, you know, qualified, as you've already heard, and not be able to get the jobs that they need. We need a culturally appropriate programs, and we also need, as I think you've heard, to address issues of trauma. I'm very concerned about the makeup of the ESC. With all due respect, the BSCC doesn't have a very good track record of appointing non-law enforcement diverse people on their boards or their ESC. We really have to prioritize formerly incarcerated, but also their families. It's because those folks have been victims of the system as well. We need to be moving this system from a system of violence and punishment to a system of wholeness and healing. We need to talk about what we need to thrive as a community. We all need to be in this together if we really want to help people thrive. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Victor Uno. I'm an international rep with the I'm an international representative for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, and I just happened to be exercising, going around our lake, and I ran into many friends at community organizations who said, you need to come and share what the IBW does as a labor organization. Because I think this is important. We supported Prop 47, and we think that the issue of recidivism, we've actually been trying to deal with that as a union for quite a while. So we do outreach programs to San Quentin. One of our locals had a program, apprenticeship program with San Quentin. And we've actually, in construction, we do not, once you've done the time and served your, whatever it was you had to do, we don't hold that as a barrier to your coming to the apprenticeship programs. So we've actually had people who go through the apprenticeship program, graduate, become skilled electricians, and then we've had outstanding members, actually graduates of San Quentin, I guess, who graduated from our program and went on to teach and give back to our union and to our training programs and then the community. So I want to say that the issue of recidivism has got to be linked to jobs. It's got to be linked to job training, meaningful programs that unions are doing right now. And please partner with those community organizations that we partner with who understand that issues in Oakland, barriers to employment, that we have those conversations so that we can get people into our program so that now our apprenticeship program is majority people of color and women in our apprenticeship training program. So this is important, and I just want to add that to the conversation, that please consider jobs, linking with labor organizations that can assist reducing recidivism. We've been doing it, there's great success, and we can share that story with you.
I'll just take it off if that's okay. Hi, good evening. My name is Josie Camacho, and I'm the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Alameda Labor Council. We represent 100,000 union members in Alameda County. I also want to say I'm very proud that the California Labor Federation endorsed and supported and Get Out the Vote efforts to make sure that Proposition 47 was passed. And I want to thank a couple of people here, Brother John Jones from the Ella Baker Center, who told me about the event tonight, and Jack Bryson, Brandon Sturdivant. Our labor union in Alameda County is very committed to working with all of our communities here. I was born and raised in Oakland on 94th and Olive, 10 brothers and sisters. While the so-called war on drugs happened, two of my brothers, who were teenagers at 16 years old, going to Elmhurst, were addicted to heroin. And then they graduated from that to methadone. And anybody that knows about the drug and the substance abuse, it was not a drug that was going to help them get off of drugs, totally. So from our experience, I think that it's safe to say that in this community, and I feel since you represent the state, I know that your interests stand with the community to make sure that 65% or more of the funds go to direct services like mental health, the kind of services that our people who are coming from incarceration back into the community. Otherwise, it's a license to return. And so what I would implore you, and thank you for having this hearing, we as labor want to continue working with the communities here to make sure that the funding does go to the people who are working directly with our juveniles and our adults who are formerly incarcerated. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rachel Stover. I'm with Californians United for a Responsible Budget. I think that Prop 47 reflected a really profound paradigm shift in California, that we were going to reinvest in our communities. But if the money saved by Prop 47 gets funneled into programs run by law enforcement, so much of the work that went into Prop 47 will have been in vain. Because no amount of money makes a prisoner in jail a proper place for healing. And so I think it's so important that the grants from these public agencies go to community-based programs, and that there's some mechanism in the application process that ensures this, because these programs, which are so under-resourced yet so rich in potential, would really produce results. They already are, and I think it would really be a tragic mistake to miss that opportunity.
Hello, my name is Evan Bissell. I worked as an educator for about 10 years. I taught in public schools in Oakland. I also worked in jails throughout the Bay Area. I just want to say there is not a single shred of evidence that shows that jail-based treatments are fiscally responsible or that they work. Right? So I want to say this again. There is not a single shred of evidence. If you look at the research and the studies, which I'm doing because I left my teaching profession to work in the public health field because of the public health concerns that were being raised by the students that I was working with because of the impacts of incarceration, right? So I left to go do this research. There is no evidence that shows that this works in law enforcement. So if the BSCC decides to put that money towards jail-based programs, what does that show the community? What does that show your ability to see the evidence and make decisions based on that? So that's what I would like to say. There is no evidence that shows that jail-based treatment programs work. Meanwhile, county-based programs have been shown to reduce recidivism by 97%. Programs like ACT programs have been shown to reduce recidivism from 75 to 20% as long as they include housing and other things like that. So, as much as we hear everybody here, do the research yourselves. If you don't, step up to that, it's clear that this is an ethical and political issue about targeting people of color and poor people. Thank you.
My name is Ruth Smiler. I live in too short. I'm Ruth Smiler. I live in Alameda. And you have heard from a number of people this evening who are heroes and exemplars of the fact that people coming out of incarceration can, with a huge amount of energy and will and dedication, in spite of not having enough services, so the deck is still, against them, they have made themselves over into productive, helpful people in our society. I have personal experience hiring such people, and the way I look at this whole story is to broaden the focus, which is to say we live in a society, in a state, in a country, and a world which has so many huge problems. I don't think we can afford to deny ourselves the help of these people who want to be a part of the solutions that need to be made. That's all I have to say.
Hello, hi. I'm Lauren Valdez. I'm an Oakland resident, and I just want to thank all the brave voices in the room who spoke today. I feel very inspired to come speak. I hope more of you will also. And I just wanted to share my story. I'm the daughter of a formerly incarcerated person who grew up with a lot of issues that I used to put a lot of the blame on my dad for his drug abuse that really broke up our family. And I had a lot of privilege and opportunities to get out of my home and those problems, and coming home from a weekend at Berkeley when my dad was supposed to pick me up from the airport, I arrive and I find out that my dad had gotten arrested before I got there, and I was stuck at LAX, and that was just the countless time that something like that had happened, and I had blamed my father most of my life for those problems and the struggles he put on my family and his 5 children. And now, as a graduate student studying city planning and public health, I recognize that it was a system that was created that put those problems on him, and I can't blame him for his drug abuse because I see and recognize the trauma that he's experienced his whole life, and I've forgiven him for his issues, and we're able to heal and mend our relationship, which I'm very happy we're able to do because now he's been home and been a good father for the past few years. And I recognize that men like him need spaces to heal. They need to be able to explore their trauma because they're told their whole lives that they are bad people, that they are their problem, there are their own problems. That's what they're told their whole lives without recognizing that the system was created to put them in those places. And I think we need to invest more in community-based services, like we've heard from everyone here. And this is Oakland, and as you see, like we show up. So we're going to follow up on where things happen with the ESC, and you can expect to hear more of our voices at the next meetings. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diane Block. I'm with the California Coalition for Women Prisoners, and we've been working on some of these issues for the past 20 years. First, I really wanted to thank the people in this room for the wisdom and the leadership and the unity that has been demonstrated, because this is what's going to make the change, and we ourselves are the answer to what has become so now publicly recognized as an incredibly dysfunctional system. So I really hope that you all are listening to these amazing people, because they really do hold the answers. So I just want to build on a couple of points that have been made. You as a BSCC representatives, those of you who are, cannot with one hand say that you want to make changes and do things in a humane and changed way, and then on the other side be funding more jails. I mean, it just doesn't work. It's going to be a counterproductive process. People are putting in applications to fund women's villages, jails that are women's villages. Now, what kind of BS is that? There is no such thing as a women's village that is a jail. And you have to wake up and say that, and be able to say that clearly, because otherwise all the money in the world is not going to be able to stop the type of road that we have been going down. So that's the first thing, or the main thing I want to say. The second thing is, and this is with no disrespect to you, but I have been in so many of these hearings where people come up and articulate their issues and their problems and their solutions, and then it goes in one ear, and then it's like it's never was said. So I sincerely, sincerely hope that this is not just a venting session, but that you are listening to people and you're going to take everyone's suggestions to heart. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Grant Marr. My mother was incarcerated when I was 14, given a maximum 20-year sentence, and I was put into foster care. She can't be here right now because she can't afford to live in the Bay Area. She can't find a stable job around here, and she can't find affordable housing. Thank God for Social Security and other resources that she has. She got out on the alternative custody program and into a funded program. She received mental health services, counseling, group therapy, some skills development, free housing for a time. There are experts in this room that know a lot better than I do how to improve these services, make them more responsive to different groups with different needs. But I'm here to reiterate that if she received these services while in prison, they would be so much more ineffective. Her absurdly long sentence gave her, nothing but additional mental health problems, PTSD, things that you hear a lot of people coming out of incarceration with more problems than they came in with. And yes, of course, there needs to be stronger services in both jails and the community, but by prioritizing community care first, there will be fewer people locked up. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joanna, and I serve on ACLU's Alameda County Chapter Board. And actually, it was Prop 47 that helped connect me with the ACLU, so I'm forever grateful for that. I grew up in Oakland, and I was lucky enough to not grow up with a target on my back. Meanwhile, so many of my peers, people I went to school with, or their parents, were being targeted by law enforcement and treated way too severely for whatever they had done or not done, There are better ways to treat people who, have, maybe they've made a mistake in their life. People change, and we know how to help them. Just today we've heard of so many ways to help people, stay on track. And when you're thinking about what programs should get this money, I want you to keep the goal in mind, which is a future where community programs are so robust that people will know about them and access them before they get funneled into the downward spiral that is our incarceration system. And that system is too costly, too ineffective, and destroys people's lives, as we have seen over and over again. We need well-funded housing programs, education and job programs, and mental health programs that not only treat people who have severe mental illnesses, but help people cope with the hardships in their lives and the things that they have to struggle through. And so my main goal is to fund programs that allow people to not focus on what they've done in the past, but their creativity, their intelligence, and their capacity to help others. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Claudine Tong, and I'm with the First Unitarian Church of Oakland. I'm here as a person who has a son who, what happened was back in 2009, I decided to quit my really good job here at Highland Hospital and go and live with my son and daughter-in-law and their brand new baby. During that time, a little bit after that, my son got addicted to meth and was subsequently jailed, separated, lost custody in the first 2 weeks he was in jail because they got that done lightning fast. Okay. Ever since then, he's out now. He called me the other day. He said, "Mommy, can you send me some money? Because, he managed to get food stamps, which he, because you can do that in Bakersfield, he's able to pay his rent with that. He calls his probation officer for some help. She says, well, I don't give out bus passes. It's 110 degrees in Bakersfield. Try to look for a job." Everywhere he goes, he's told, there is no help, there is no money. As a result, I escaped. I had the opportunity to come back to Oakland in 2012, and I've been living on my other son's couch since then because, there's also, I was thinking about that when I was listening to people. We're talking about help for people who are formerly incarcerated. What about all the other people who lose their housing because they let their child stay in their government housing? Well, we need to have mental health services provided and housing services and other things, reentry services provided in the community where it's been proven that it works, not money given to the jails, not money given to the sheriffs who are just going to just house people and rent out things like Sheriff Ahern is doing, rent the facilities out. If you've got so much room that you can rent out facilities, then you don't need to be building anything anymore. I'm just asking that you keep your word. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Emily Stoper. I'm with the First Unitarian Church of Oakland. I'm also a friend of the Ella Baker Center. This country is addicted to mass incarceration. We are addicted to prisons and jails. Well, we seem to have hit bottom now and decided to kick that addiction. But strangely, we seem to be wanting to do that, partly at least, by expanding the number of jails. It's like being addicted to one drug and then going and being addicted to another drug. It's just really crazy. What we really need is community-based services that help people to get education, to get jobs, and to get employment, and to kick their habits. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lee Davenport, and I'm a member of the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights, and I'm also a resident of Oakland. I want to make 2 points. First of all, I do not like coming up to the microphone and talking. I'm here because I really care about this. This is so important. Number one, I want to talk about public safety. As a member of the public, I would feel much safer knowing that when somebody comes out of incarceration, they have immediate access to community-based services so that they can get back on their feet. Better yet, we have preventative services based in the community, again, so that people can build their lives. My second point is that anybody who has had the privilege to have access to mental health services or counseling knows that to address a trauma, to recover from substance abuse, to deal with a mental illness. That requires feeling safe and feeling vulnerable and being able to talk to somebody about that. I can't imagine, in what universe I would want to do that in a women's prison or jail setting. I mean, that's, all sources say that that's a traumatizing, terrifying environment. I don't know how you recover in that situation. So that's all I have to say.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here and holding these hearings. You've looked like you were listening very attentively, and I hope that you have been. I've listened to all the other people speak, and they've said some very key things. In fact, I said, what could I say that's any different? My name is Virginia Hollins Davidson. I live in Berkeley. I retired after about 20 years as a career public defender. My first goal in life was to be a teacher, because early on I saw that students who liked school, who did well, who felt a part of that, did not get in trouble. And the students who did not get along in school, who did not do well, were those who got caught up in the system. I also had two older brothers who spent most of their lives in jail, in prison. I know the trauma of that. One of my most devastating experiences as a public defender was representing a father and a son at the same time. Another heartbreaking experience was going to speak to a class of students and sharing with them my experience of losing someone close to me by homicide, and asking them if any of them had had an experience of losing someone close to them by murder. And almost every child in that classroom raised their hand. That was a school in Oakland. When crimes happen, families are victims. And no matter what services you provide to the perpetrator in jail, the family of victims suffers. I ask you as a board to give the money, give more of it, to organizations in the community who know that suffering, to those who have arms to reach out and hug those children, to those who have experiences, whose own hearts have cried and so suffer the same pain as those children, who will be able to help them keep from becoming incarcerated persons. Jails don't have hearts. Prisons don't have arms.
Yeah.
Make a difference. Give the money to those who care.
Just want to reiterate what everyone has said. Just thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak about these really important issues. My name is Laura Nixon, and I work at the Public Health Institute here in Oakland. And when I thought about what I wanted to say today, I started reflecting, I think as a lot of us have, on my own family story. My sister has a severe mental illness, and I thought about the time when she was arrested and how instead of going to jail, she went to a hospital. And I thought about when she got out of the hospital, what a difference it made in her life to have supportive housing. What a difference in her life it has made to have support of job placement. What an incredible support it's been in her life to have consistent mental health treatment. And I don't know that any of those would have been as effective at all if it was in a jail setting, if it was in a prison setting. And so I just really encourage you, as you've heard over and over again tonight, that these services, they work, and that they're incredibly important for those in the community who are struggling with mental illness, who are struggling with substance abuse, and that it's very important to prioritize that those services that are funded by the savings from Prop 47 go to the community. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Jackie Stanford. I'm an educator of 20 years throughout all levels of education system right up to university. I want to tell you when I became politicized in this action, I'm one of those persons who have moved into the Bay Area, and Oakland, East Oakland is now my home. And I was politicized by this issue when I saw a photograph of a little kid being handcuffed in front of all of his friends in school one day. A tiny kid, a huge officer, and the kid with his hand behind his back, waiting. He knew what to do to be handcuffed. And I just thought, what could that crime be for that child to be handcuffed in front of a circle of his friends and all the trauma for everyone involved? It was just, I was politicized. And I was politicized to be involved in a place like the Bay Area because there was the opportunity to be involved. I heard about this thing called Prop 47, that you were going to do something historic here, to leave the country, to take money out of prisons and put them in the community, to stop that pipeline from school to prison. And I thought, what a magical thing. I've got to be part of this. With the ACLU, with Ella Baker Center, with Oakland Community Organization, I worked with all these community groups to bring Prop 47 into being, to leave the country, to end this awful scourge in the society that's ruining children's life. Who is that person who makes the handcuffs for a little kid? We need to put that person out of business. Put the money into the community. Put people in the community on your panels. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Elena McCrae, and I'm a member of the Ella Baker Center. I'm here to speak tonight actually as an East Oakland native, excuse me. I'm a shy person, but I really care about this. East Oakland native, as a cousin and a neighbor of incarcerated folks, some of whom are no longer with us because of the trauma they experienced that led up to that incarceration and during that incarceration. And also as a grant writer, which I don't usually get to speak as, but I just wanted to say, growing up in Oakland, it is hard to stay out of the system, and it is sure hard to come out and stay out. So please feel that, please hear that in the voices tonight. As someone who's lost folks, you don't end up in prison without trauma, and you don't come out without trauma. And as a grant writer, I just want to be aware of the process. It's a process that can exclude a lot of folks, actually. It's really intimidating. So I hope there's a process to support community organizations in their applications and make it more accessible to them. You're not excluding people on technicalities. And that both on your boards making decisions, and then also in the groups that you're prioritizing, how you rank priorities for choosing, that you're prioritizing formerly incarcerated individuals and truly community-based organizations, because they know what works, they feel it, they see it, they know what's not right, they know the tiny barriers that can make the difference. So please use your power in this role that you have. It can feel like the world is so big and the problems are so big and we're so small, but you have the power to influence these things. So please see that, please use that. Remember all these voices when you're making those choices. Thank you very much.
Good evening, my name is Keisha Turner. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Keisha Turner. I am an Oakland resident and a friend and member of Ella Baker Center. I just strongly urge you to listen to what everybody here has been saying tonight. And I just have some notes so I can stay on track. So I've spent the last year about working with homeless and marginally housed transitional age youth, most of whom, if not all of whom, were system impacted youth. I've seen my young people who have had mental health episodes be arrested and not know what was going to happen to them after that, and knowing that that is not the place where they needed to go to receive the help that they needed. I've had young people break down in tears in front of me, talking about the time that they spent inside, making them feel less than human. And any system that consistently makes people feel less than human and doesn't believe that they're deserving of their full rights as citizens of this country that we live in can't be the ones to offer them mental health services. For me, it feels akin to having an abuser be the chief person in charge of healing the people that they abuse. The true commitment to the health and well-being of incarcerated and formerly incarcerated people means having them and their families and the community-based organizations who are dedicated to uplifting them at the table and listening to them when they say community care, not cages. Thank you.
Evening, Pete Wywoody with the California Partnership. We're a statewide coalition of anti-poverty organizations working to eliminate poverty in California. And we see incarceration as probably the biggest barrier to people getting out of poverty in California. See incarceration as one of the biggest barriers to people living full, healthy lives in California. Just a couple of notes on that. Living in a neighborhood with high incarceration rates makes it you're more likely to risk a depressive disorder than being unemployed, widowed, or divorced. And suicide in California prisons kills more people in California than diabetes, which is staggering. So thinking about that in terms of health, as we approach this massive amount of money you all have in your hands now, and I'd encourage you all to take the notes that folks have given you tonight and hopefully around the state and apply it to all the decisions that the BSCC makes, not just about Prop 47 dollars. More and more money is going to come through the BSCC. We should apply this lens, of money in the community, not in law enforcement, to everything that we do. I really appreciated that Mr. Rector, you were saying in the beginning, no money from Prop 47 is going to go to jails. I hope we have a shared understanding of what a jail is in this state. And, when I say no money goes to jails, that doesn't just mean building extra cages in existing facilities. That also means expanding, giving more money to law enforcement to build expanded mental health, so-called mental health jails, building expanded facilities that end up being jails anyways. What we need is no money from Prop 47 going to anything that could ever look anything like a jail. Instead, put that money in the community and have it owned by folks that can keep people out of the system and they are not incentivized to keep bringing people in. I'd also encourage the Executive Steering Committee to be entirely made up of folks who are in the community, formerly incarcerated. We don't need law enforcement controlling those dollars. We need community folks controlling those dollars. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Ron Moore. I've been a resident of Alameda County since 1986. I just think about this rather simplistically. If you want to integrate people back into society, where's the most effective place to do that? And I think this is it. It's the community. And that is my statement.
Thank you.
Y'all can hear me okay, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. My name is Suleyman Ziad Hayat. So I own a print shop down in San Jose. And I'll start with this little story right here before I get to really what I wanted to say. So I employ people who are formerly incarcerated. Two of the people in specific, one was a sex offender, former sex offender, he was incarcerated for that. The other one was incarcerated for 23 years. He went in when he was 16 years old. He came out not knowing how to use a cell phone. But I used my resources from the shop to actually help them. They were both homeless. Now they both have apartments. They were both in situations in which they couldn't feed themselves or their family. And it was a very dire situation for them. They both went in repeatedly for being in the wrong part of town when they were trying to sleep in their cars because they were too close to a park that was next to a freeway that was abandoned anyways. The point I'm trying to get with this right here is that you see, we're actually at an intersection in society right now in which mass incarceration has come up as an important issue. It's finally taken some time for this to happen, but it's good that it's actually happened. You see, the reality here is that 30 years prior to this, we didn't have all this. And when we actually talk about the money that we're using, well, if you really think about it, this is our money to begin with. Because if we weren't in jail to begin with, there wouldn't have been this money that would have been used for more productive areas. My brothers and sisters who were put in jail that didn't have to go to jail because of drug-related issues would have been productive members of society. The very act of arguing about our money when it was ours to begin with is ridiculous. You see, but the system creates this. The system creates this because it creates the fact that police sit on the board in majority. The system creates the fact that it creates laws that oppress us. The system creates the fact that It puts people into homelessness after prison, and then it picks them right back up again when they can't pay for parole. That's what the system does. It's a very complex thing. The problem is that we're looking at this in an individualistic way rather than a systematic way. And the bigger problem is right there is that you've come to a point in this society in which at this point, at this day and stage, you are either against mass incarceration in all of its forms, or you are perpetuating it in all of its forms. And there is no middle ground in that. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Donald Frazier. I'm the Executive Director of BOSS, that's Building Opportunities for Self-Sufficiency. Our geographical footprint in Alameda County, we're in Hayward, Oakland, and Berkeley. And I just want to make a couple of statements. The research and evaluation has been done. And every 5 or 10 years, it's been done again and again and again. I want to give you an example. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. And back, this is back a while back, and you could tell, if you could notice the grays in my hair. The infant mortality rate was off the charts. And people were wondering why, basically in the African American community, in the projects. And the issue was that the women would have to go to Cook County Hospital for their prenatal care. And they wouldn't go to Cook County Hospital because the word on the street was, if you go to the county hospital, you die, you never come out. So the issue was quite simple to resolve, and it came from the people who were living in the community. So what ended up happening is building clinics on the first floor in the projects to provide prenatal care to the women, and that problem was solved. I'm saying that to say, we have success. BOSS has a lot of success. We provide shelters, transitional housing, permanent supportive housing. We provide health services, mental health case management services. We have a career training and employment center where we just graduated 30 formerly incarcerated individuals, and we're still growing. The issue is, my vision is to have centers of excellence in every community. I'm talking about in East Oakland, Deep East Oakland, West Oakland, those stretcher beats in the city where nobody goes and everybody talks about. You understand what I'm saying? In the unincorporated areas in Hayward. It's really important to kind of get back to the community. The funding of institutions has, in my opinion, has played out. We need to get back to the community, to the core of the community, and start building up from there. That's my statement, so I'm going to stick to it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lauren, and I am with the Ella Baker Center for Human Rights. So I've been doing a lot of community outreach and research, and what I've been seeing is a lot of pain. And I'm here today because I am in pain. And I'm also here because there's a lot of potential. There's a lot of potential in California, and I see that, and we've celebrated Prop 47, the 1-year anniversary, and things can be done. People can come out of jail and be rehabilitated and be held in community. And we know that this can happen. And contrary to everything that I've learned in the past, I think that you guys do feel some of the things that we see in our community. And I think that you, in your hearts, do want to help us make this a different system, completely different system. So I just wanted to say that we need more community members who are actually like in cahoots with y'all, and not just standing in front of you like heated, but at like planned meetings, who can say, I've been incarcerated and this is not going to work. Because it's really hard to get a broad perspective when it's just like not as many people who had that experience. So we're calling on the BSCC to not only have meetings like this where we can have fluid conversations, but also to appoint members to the Executive Steering Committee, the ESC, who are health and substance use treatment practitioners, experts on housing, experts on being in this shitty system, people who are directly impacted by incarceration, and representative of the people that these funds will serve. And I also just want to say that I'm coming here not only as a community member, not only as a college grad, but as a victim of a violent crime. And when I say victim, it's hard to sit with that. It's hard to put myself on that side, but we're not victims versus criminals, we're community members, and we're all trying to heal. And no matter where you got messed up, it's a cycle. So we see how these things happen, and it's a revolving door. So we want to make sure that we start to heal our community and stop hurting it.
Hi, my name is Stacy Saw. I'm with the ACLU of Northern California, and I'm here to say that we should be emphasizing investment in programs that are designed to encourage people into drug treatment and mental health services rather than threaten them into those services. A lot of the times, law enforcement acts like there's no way to help people struggling with addiction if we can't threaten them with jail, and that's simply not true. The reality is that public health workers, doctors, and other community service providers have found incentives to be hugely successful in engaging and retaining people in treatment and mental health services, and the research is really strong in that regard. And I think the voters have spoken when they voted in favor of Prop 47 that they want people in treatment and want people to receive services and not jail. So thank you so much for your time.
Well, Oakland shows up. I heard a lot about things starting with the barriers, mental health, substance abuse, housing, employment, wraparound services, cultural competency, employment, having the right people on the ESC. I can assure you of a couple of things. We heard you loud and clear, and we won't be able to meet all the needs that were expressed here tonight. There is a limited amount of funding. It is going to be extremely complicated, but there is no doubt that your voice was loud and clear. I think the partnership of community-based organizations in the system is a mandate. There is no getting around that. I think the system understands that. I suppose we sit up here representing the system. And rolling it out is going to occur. I don't think we can improve communities without the partnership. With that said, I'm overwhelmed by the complicated nature of how this will all occur. Because there's accountability when CBOs get the money, and there's outcomes when CBOs get the money, and there's concerns all around. But there are things as simple as barriers that need to be breached so that when people come out, they can get a driver's license, they can get employment, they can get a place to live. Understood. I think the Speaker's bill really provides the framework for that. I'm just overwhelmed with gratitude that you spent your evening with us. I am, absolutely feel the weight of the obligation of this board based on what we heard tonight. I suspect we'll hear it in the next 6 meetings we go to. It is an enormous challenge, an enormous charge, and an enormous obligation. There are issues in the state of California from the top to the bottom. We know that families need to remain intact. We know that people need to have assistance when their children are born and prior to the time their children are born, when they enter school, when they have families that are broken for one reason or another, they need to be supported. We get all of that. I'm not certain we can meet all those needs, but we understand all those needs. With that said, please put your name on our website as a statement of interest if you want to serve on the ESC. But I can tell you that there's a great deal of interest, and there will be representation. You've made that very clear to us. We intended to do that. We have done it on other ESCs. So we'll do what we can, but not everybody's going to be on it. I mean, it's max 17 or 20 people in the state as large as California, and diverse as California. We started here because we knew a great deal of the passion stemmed from Oakland, Alameda, the Bay Area. And you were very clear. Your message is clear, and I appreciate you spending the time to give it to us. Anybody else on the board?
Just a reminder, please feel free to submit any questions that we didn't have a chance to get to tonight to the prop47@bscc.ca.gov email address. We'll continue to provide updates there on our FAQs as well. I just want to thank all the members of the panel who were here tonight and everybody for coming out to have this opportunity to talk and listen. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.